This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel this afternoon. And we're heading into this evening, so I thought I had an interesting little thought while I took some cardboard out and I'm sitting here. You know what, I did it for rookie camp. Realistically, it was pretty much all duds throughout rookie camp, unfortunately. Evan Bouchard, I hit him there because I said he needed to step up, and he did to a degree. He kind of just showed us what we already knew, more or less. But the big factor here, the key for the Edmonton Oilers, is the camp coming up, the main camp, the, NHL roster camp, right? The one that will form our 23 guys who will play opening night versus Vancouver. And guys, that leads me into the one guy I feel really needs to have a comeback year. But before we get to that, guys, take the next 10 minutes, consider your options, consider subscribing to Dolynny TV for all your latest Edmonton Oilers news. No pressure right now. You got 10 odd minutes to get that done. I'm going to blank that screen because that black bar stuff is really driving me nuts lately. So, with that said, my phone and my cat's on my bed and we get another video going. Is Adam Larsson of the Edmonton Oilers. Guys, what do we already know? What do we know about Adam Larsson from last year, from years previous? Shall we go back to 1-for-1? Peter Chiarelli trades Taylor Hall for Adam Larsson. Okay, yeah, that's one thing we know. Then, Adam Larsson's first year, the Edmonton Oilers made the Stanley Cup playoffs. Okay, that's two things. Then in 17-18, he had a hard year on the ice, off the ice. He really struggled to kind of recapture that form from the year previous, but also the off-ice issues, the family issues were a big struggle for Adam Larsson. So we're not going to sit there and crap on him too much for struggling in 17-18. But my, oh my, ladies and gentlemen, the disgrace that was the 18-19 season, not only for the Oilers, but for Adam Larsson as well, was just, oh my goodness, write it off. 82 games played, had 20 points, a -28. So shall I bring up his stats? I think that's a good time to do it once I start getting into it. So these are Adam Larsson's stats. We'll talk about that 18-19 season right now. The penalty minutes pretty much consistent with kind of what the career average pace is. Even strength goals, he's never scored more than 4 goals in a year. So right there, okay, 3 goals, not bad. Career average, probably an assist, realistically, and 20 points. But the bad figure here, and guys, you can't argue that plus minus a made up stat on this one. He looked bad defensively last year for 90% of the year. There were some moments playing with some guys that he really started to figure it out. You take, for instance, the few games under Ken Hitchcock there where we were on the winning streak. The whole defense had it figured out. But he, for the most part, Adam Larsson, guys, 90% of the time when a puck went in and he was on the ice, he got beat. Simple as that. It was just not an all-around pretty time for him in the defensive zone. You can say that for the 9, 12, 15, 80 defensemen the Oilers used last year in general. So don't think I'm harping too deeply on this, but it is to a point. And you see Adam Larsson realistically saw nothing in terms of power play time. So that's one thing I look for the Oilers to maybe get going this year, is a different look on that second unit, rotating defensemen in and out to try and heat up the sticks. So we're hoping. And the shooting percentage for Adam Larsson, guys, this is the one that's maybe the most infuriating if you're an Oilers fan and you haven't checked the stats like I haven't, is the fact that Adam Larsson had a 2.6 shooting percentage last year. He was up at least 25 shots over years previous and still couldn't break a career high in goals. Yeah, you know what, his shooting percentage phenomenally low career-wise, but you gotta cash in once in a while. And that's one thing the Oilers defense really needs to do this year. Time on ice, he averaged about, pretty much past 3 years, right in the middle. 21-37, played a lot of minutes, and, then that shows you who is leading a lot of the failure for the Oilers when you look at a guy like Matt Benning, who had a lot higher of a plus-minus, let's just be honest, even though I harp on him enough. The one key factor for Adam Larsson, he hits, and he hits hard, okay? That's no taking away from that. And then the giveaways. This one, guys, a very deeply costly one for Adam Larsson this year. 68 giveaways, almost right up there with the career high. Somehow the career high is in 16, 17. Don't ask me how. It's just nothing makes sense in Oilers land sometimes, and that's another one of those kind of stats. And he had 128 blocks, but that was down by 12 from the previous year. So you see where I'm going. So for the Oilers, the key here is to get a bounce back from Adam Larsson in training camp. And what I'm looking at, kind of why I'm saying a bounce back, what I mean, I guess, I cut it, try again. A bounce back in training camp would be that Ty Rattie training camp we saw last year, right? Ty Rattie's preseason totals were off the charts. Now, obviously, that didn't pan out, but what we need out of Adam Larsson is a successful training camp in which he puts up offensive numbers, looks really good, has all the headlines buzzed around him, and comes into the regular season up here. Because given the family stuff, given the lack of production, given the terrible defensive game he's played over the past 2 years, his confidence from 16-17 went from here down to here. And what we need out of Adam Larsson, if he's going to be a long-term defenseman, like his contract indicates on the Edmonton Oilers, is hone in and get the job done in the preseason. Come to camp, be the best defenseman on this team. Remember, the trade was 1-for-1. So Adam Larsson, why do I think the bounce back would be possible? Well, for Adam Larsson, the key factor here is he's got a coach from the start of the year who's going to preach a new system. And I mean, how much do you earn playing time if you're the first guy to figure out exactly how to play your new coach's system? You tell me. I mean, you watch Junior B enough. The first guy to figure out that system that the coach is running, they're going to play as much of the game as they possibly can. Not because they want to, but because the coach wants them to. That's just, you do the little things right. And that's how a system runs. A system runs because every little thing is being done right. So for Adam Larsson, as I said, the key, get the system figured out, execute it flawlessly, have a great training camp, go out there, earn that playing time, and find your role perfectly. And what everyone's trying to kind of master plan for the Oilers roster already, without seeing training camp, is the Darnell Nurse Adam Larsson pairing we saw for a little bit last year, and it was a good pair at times. The key here is the fact that Adam Larsson is going to have to let Darnell Nurse be the offensive defenseman. The key there is that he has to be the anchor, the guy who stops everything when it comes back the other way. Because for the Oilers to be successful, deploying a Darnell Nurse Adam Larsson pair, you can't. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot afford to lose Darnell Nurse's offensive production on the blue line from last year this year. That is an absolute cannot afford to do. Because you do that, you are making up too much scoring somewhere else, and it just won't happen. Cat hair on my tongue. Ugh, gross. But you understand that, right? It's simple. Darnell Nurse has to be able to play his minutes. He has to be able to play offense. He has to go out and play his game. That means Adam Larsson has to have everything figured out for himself, for the team, and go out there best foot forward and come out and get the job done. But that pairing is only a possibility at this point. We haven't seen it deployed in training camp. We haven't seen it deployed for 5 games to start the regular season. This is only talk, make-believe at this point. Yes, okay, it's pretty close to being official because there's the rumors about Clefbaum needing to do new D partner and stuff. But right now, it's just an idea. And for the Oilers to execute it flawlessly, I've already laid that out. But Adam Larsson, for him to come in, he's got to be the breakout star of training camp. There's no doubts about it. You go through everything that Adam Larsson has gone through these 3 past years in Edmonton. A successful playoff year where he looked great for 90% of the year. Then you've got the bad year, the family problems, 17, 18, just write it off. Just whatever. And then all of a sudden you think he's going to bounce back in 18-19, and he absolutely just didn't. So now you've got 19-20. The pressure's on him. The onus is on him to improve, to show and prove, and to do what needs to be done. So Adam Larsson, if I am a betting man, I am saying you need to have the best camp out of any Edmonton Oilers player on that roster that I named last night. Guys, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. As I said, if you have taken that time, watched all 10 minutes, and you've thought about it, I would really appreciate the subscription. That way we can continue to get Oilers news here on the channel out to as many people as possible. I will catch you guys, as always, in the next one.